The council chamber was silent except for the soft hum of the ancient lottery machine. Ambassador Ryan Cooper sat in Earth's designated seat, his knuckles white as he gripped the armrests. Around him, representatives from 100 different alien species watched the spinning holographic display with the same grim expression they'd worn for thousands of years. Ryan had studied the history of this ritual. Every 1,000 years the machine selected one species. That species had to offer a child. The child would be sent to Krothmar, the dead planet at the edge of known space, where the Zarathkon waited. The beast they called the Eternal Maw. The creature that could swallow suns and crack planets if it ever broke free from its ancient prison. The machine slowed. Symbol after symbol flickered past. The VRYNN. The Korthax. The Tellurians. Then it stopped. The blue and green symbol of Earth burned bright across every screen in the galaxy. No. The word escaped Ryan's lips before he could stop it. That's impossible. We only joined the council 3 years ago. The mathematical probability of... The odds are the same for every species, Ambassador Cooper. The Chancellor of the VRYNN spoke without emotion. Her body was made of living crystal, and her voice sounded like wind chimes. Random selection. It has been this way for 10,000 years. The millennial appeasement must be honored. There are no exceptions. Ryan stood up so fast his chair fell backward. You're asking us to sacrifice a child. A human child. We don't even understand why this ritual exists. Let us study the beast first. Let us find another way. An elder from the Korthax species, a massive warrior covered in scales, shook his head slowly. My people gave a child 4,000 years ago. I remember the screams in our cultural memory. Every species in this chamber has paid this price. It is terrible, but it keeps trillions alive. The Zarathkon must be fed, or it will feed itself on entire civilizations. Within 6 hours, the lottery system activated across all human colonies. Every child between 5 and 10 years old was automatically entered. The selection was instant, processed by computers that couldn't be influenced by emotion or bribery. The name appeared on every screen across human space. Mia Stevens, age 7, New Dallas Colony, Mars. Ryan pulled up the file with shaking hands. An orphan. Parents died in a mining accident 2 years ago. Lived with her aunt in the colony's residential district. Good grades. Volunteered at the animal shelter on weekends. Brown hair, green eyes, and a smile in her school photo that made Ryan's heart break. He accessed the video feed as colony officials arrived at her apartment. Her aunt was crying, screaming at the officials that this couldn't be happening. But little Mia stood there in her pajamas, looking up at the adults with those impossibly calm green eyes. Will it hurt? She asked. Not crying. Not screaming. Just asking. The official, a tall woman named Captain Williams, knelt down. Sweetheart, we don't know. But you'll be remembered as a hero. The whole galaxy will know your name. Mia nodded slowly. Can I bring my backpack? And can I have 2 weeks? I want to read some stuff first. Across Earth, Luna, Mars, and the outer colonies, humanity erupted. Protests filled the streets. Ships tried to flee the system with children hidden aboard, but the council's ships turned them back. Politicians demanded Earth withdraw from the council. Military generals proposed attacking Krothmar to destroy the beast before the ritual. Ryan called an emergency meeting with Earth's leaders. If we break the ritual, the council will activate the containment failure protocols. The Zarathkon will wake up fully. According to their records, the last time a species refused, the beast destroyed 17 inhabited worlds before they managed to drug it back to sleep. Billions died. So we just let them kill a 7-year-old girl? The president's face was red with anger on the video screen. I don't know, Ryan admitted. But we have 2 weeks. Let me try to find something. Anything. There has to be another way. But deep in his heart, Ryan knew the truth. He'd read every historical record. 40 species before humanity had sent their children to Krothmar. Not one child had survived longer than a few minutes. The beast always killed. It always fed. That's what it had done for 10,000 years. On Mars, in a small apartment in New Dallas Colony, Mia sat at her desk with her tablet. While her aunt cried in the next room and the world raged outside, she did what she always did when she was scared. She read. She researched. She asked questions. She pulled up every file she could find about the Zarathkon. About Krothmar. About the ritual. Most of it was just descriptions of death. But she was looking for something else. Some clue everyone else had missed. Because Mia had learned something important working with the rescue animals at the shelter. Even the meanest, scariest dog wasn't really mean. It was just scared or hurt or lonely. And if you understood that, everything changed. She had 2 weeks to learn everything she could. 2 weeks before she'd meet the most feared creature in the entire galaxy. She wasn't going to waste a single minute. The ceremonial ship called Last Honor pulled away from Mars Station in complete silence. No engines roared. No alarms blared. Just the quiet hum of quantum drives carrying a 7-year-old girl toward her death. Outside the docking bay, millions of people had gathered. They held candles. They held signs. Some screamed in rage at the injustice. Others simply wept. Mia Stevens sat in the observation deck, her small backpack clutched on her lap, watching Earth get smaller and smaller through the massive window. The blue and green planet where humanity had been born looked so peaceful from up here. So safe. She wished she could go back. "Sweetheart, you should try to sleep." Dr. Helen Carter sat down beside her. She was a psychologist from Earth, assigned by the Council to stay with Mia during the 3-day journey to Krothmar. Her eyes were red from crying, though she tried to hide it. "I have medicine that will help. You won't feel scared anymore. You could just sleep until it's time." Mia shook her head. "I don't want to sleep. I need to learn." She pulled out her tablet and started searching through files. Dr. Carter watched her with a mixture of sadness and confusion. "Learn what, honey? There's nothing that can help now. The ritual has to happen." "I'm so sorry." "Everything can help if you know the right things," Mia said quietly. Her fingers moved across the screen, pulling up the Council's historical database. "The beast, does it have a real name? Not just the scary one everyone uses." Dr. Carter wiped her eyes. "I read some old texts before we left. Thousands of years ago, before it became what it is now. Some ancient species called it the Last Guardian. They said it protected something important. But that was before it turned into a killer." Mia's eyes lit up. "Protected? So it wasn't always bad." "I suppose not. But that was a long time ago, Mia. 10,000 years changes things." The ship sailed through dark space, moving faster than light toward the dead planet. Inside, Mia read everything she could find. The Council kept detailed records of every ritual for the past 10 millennia. Most were horrifying. Children screaming, running, dying in seconds. The Zarathkon showed no mercy, no hesitation. It killed and ate every offering. But then Mia found something strange. A record from 6,000 years ago. A child from a species called the Melodians. The notes said the child had lasted almost an hour before dying. That was impossible. Every other child died in less than 5 minutes. She read the report carefully. Subject did not run. Subject sang traditional songs of their homeworld. Beast response, ceased attack pattern. Remained stationary. Showed abnormal stillness for 53 minutes before resuming standard predatory behavior. Mia read it 3 times. Then she searched for more unusual cases. She found 2 others. One child who had lasted 30 minutes by making rhythmic sounds with rocks. Another who had survived 20 minutes by remaining completely still and humming. "Dr. Carter," Mia said suddenly, "the beast doesn't just kill because it's hungry. Look at this." She showed the psychologist her findings. Dr. Carter read slowly, her professional mind engaging despite her grief. That's actually interesting. The beast seems to respond to sound patterns. Music, rhythm, consistent noise. And it stops attacking when kids don't run," Mia added. "Every child who screamed and ran died in seconds. But the ones who stayed calm, who made sounds, they lasted longer." "But they still died, Mia." "I know." Mia's voice was small. "But maybe there's a reason. Maybe it's trying to communicate and nobody ever stayed calm long enough to notice." Dr. Carter didn't know what to say. The hope in this child's voice was breaking her heart. But she was also amazed. Most 7-year-olds would be crying, screaming, or catatonic with fear. Mia was researching, planning, thinking. Mia spent the next 2 days downloading every file she could access. She made notes. She drew pictures of the beast based on old recordings. She studied its movement patterns, its sounds, the way it approached its victims. Then she carefully packed her backpack. Her mother's old softball from before the accident. A jar of honey from Earth that her aunt had given her. Her father's harmonica that he used to play on quiet nights. And a printed photo of her family back when they were all alive and happy. Through the quantum broadcast system, billions of beings across the galaxy watched her. The feed from the ship was public, as it always was during ritual journeys. The Korthax warriors started calling her Little Brave One in their language. They admired courage above all else, and this tiny human child showed more courage than most soldiers. Humans called it something else. They called it a death march. A murder. An abomination. Protests continued on every human world. But they were powerless to stop it. On the last night before arrival, Mia didn't sleep. She sat in the observation deck, practicing her father's harmonica. The notes were shaky and imperfect, but she kept trying. Dr. Carter sat with her, neither of them speaking. "I'm scared," Mia finally whispered. "I know, sweetheart. But I'm going to try anyway. I'm going to try to talk to it, to understand it. Because that's what my mom taught me. She said even scared, mean dogs just need someone to be patient with them." Dr. Carter pulled the little girl close, holding her as they flew toward the planet of bones. "You're the bravest person I've ever met." Mia didn't feel brave. She felt terrified. But she was going to try anyway. Because maybe, just maybe, everyone had been doing this ritual wrong for 10,000 years. The ship landed on Krothmar with a soft thud that felt far too gentle for what was about to happen. Through the windows, Mia could see the surface of the dead planet. Gray dust stretched in every direction. No plants. No water. No life. Just endless emptiness in the bones. Dr. Helen Carter's hand trembled as she helped Mia put on her jacket. "You don't have to be strong right now. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be angry." "I know," Mia said softly. "But crying won't help. Not yet." The landing ramp lowered with a hiss. The air outside smelled like old metal and dust. As they walked down, Mia saw the arena for the first time. It was a massive circle carved into the planet's surface, surrounded by ancient stone walls that looked older than human civilization. But it was what lay inside those walls that made her stomach twist. Bones. Thousands and thousands of bones. Small skeletons that must have been children like her. Larger ones from species she couldn't identify. Some were ancient, worn smooth by time and wind. Others looked newer, still showing traces of what they'd been. All of them were young. All of them had died here. This was a graveyard built over 10,000 years. A monument to the galaxy's fear. Dr. Carter walked beside her toward the center of the arena, quietly crying. She tried to say comforting words, prayers that humans had spoken for centuries, but her voice kept breaking. "Mia, I'm so sorry. We tried everything. Earth tried to negotiate, tried to find alternatives, but the Council wouldn't." "I know, Dr. Carter." Mia stopped and hugged the woman who'd stayed with her these past 3 days. "It's not your fault. Tell my Aunt Lisa that I love her. Tell her I wasn't scared at the end. Even if that's not true." Dr. Carter squeezed her so tight it hurt. Then the other priests and officials called her back. Protocol demanded that everyone retreat behind the energy barrier before the beast emerged. No one could interfere. No one could help. That was the law that had stood for 10 millennia. Mia stood alone in the center of the arena. Her small backpack sat at her feet. The bones of the dead surrounded her in every direction. Above, she knew billions of beings across the galaxy were watching through the quantum broadcast. Humans watching in horror. Aliens watching with pity and relief that it wasn't their child this time. The ground trembled. It started as a small vibration like distant thunder. Then it grew stronger. Dust began to rise in clouds around the arena. Something massive was moving beneath the surface. Something that had been sleeping in the deep places of this dead world. The ground in front of Mia exploded upward. The Zerath Khan emerged from below like a nightmare crawling out of the earth itself. It was even bigger than the videos had shown. 30 feet tall, maybe more. Its body was covered in black scales that looked like armor plating, each one the size of Mia's whole body. 6 eyes burned red in its massive head, arranged in 2 rows that saw everything. Its jaws opened, revealing teeth as long as swords, designed to tear through metal and bone alike. This was the creature that had destroyed 17 worlds the last time it fully woke. The thing that had killed thousands of children. The beast that entire civilizations feared. It roared. The sound was like nothing Mia had ever heard. It shook the ground beneath her feet. It rattled her bones. It was the sound of mountains breaking and worlds ending. Behind the barrier, several officials fell to their knees, covering their ears. The roar echoed across the dead planet, a declaration that death had arrived. Mia's legs wanted to run. Every instinct in her body screamed at her to flee, to hide, to do anything but stand there. Her heart hammered so hard she thought it might break through her chest. Her hands shook. Tears threatened to spill from her eyes. But she didn't run. Instead, she sat down. Right there in the dust and bones. She opened her backpack with trembling fingers and pulled out the jar of honey she'd brought from Earth. Her hands shook so badly she almost dropped it, but she managed to unscrew the lid. The Zerath Khan stopped mid-roar. Its 6 red eyes focused on her, and Mia felt the weight of that gaze like physical pressure. This tiny creature wasn't running. Wasn't screaming. It was sitting down. This had never happened before. Mia dipped her finger in the honey. Her voice came out smaller than she wanted, but she forced herself to speak. Hi. My name is Mia. Are you hungry? The beast's massive head tilted, confused. In 10,000 years, 40 species had sent children to this place. Every single one had run or screamed or begged. Prey was supposed to act like prey. But this small human was sitting calmly, offering something with an outstretched hand. Mia held her honey-covered finger toward the creature that could swallow her in one bite. Her whole arm trembled, but she kept it steady. It's okay to be scared. I'm really scared too. But maybe we don't have to be. Across the galaxy, billions of viewers watched in absolute silence. Humans gripped their screens, barely breathing. Alien species who had sent their own children to this death watched in disbelief. The Korthax warriors stopped their war drums. The VRYN ceased their meditations. Everyone watched as a 7-year-old human girl offered honey to the creature of their nightmares, speaking to it like it was just another scared animal that needed kindness. The Zarathkon moved closer, each step shaking the ground. The Zarathkon's massive head lowered toward Mia's outstretched hand. Each movement was slow, deliberate, as if the creature itself couldn't quite believe what it was doing. Its nostrils, each one bigger than Mia's entire head, flared as it caught the scent of the honey. The sweet smell must have been completely alien to a beast that had only known fear and violence for thousands of years. Then, impossibly gentle, its tongue extended. The surface was rough like sandpaper, covered in small ridges that scraped against Mia's tiny finger as it licked away the honey. The touch was careful, controlled, nothing like the savage attacks recorded in 10,000 years of history. Despite her terror, despite knowing she could die any second, Mia giggled. That tickles. The sound of her laughter echoed across the dead planet. Through the quantum broadcast, billions of beings across the galaxy heard it. A child's laugh in the place where only screams had existed before. Behind the energy barrier, Dr. Carter collapsed to her knees, her hand over her mouth. The other officials stood frozen, unable to process what they were seeing. This wasn't how the ritual went. This wasn't how it had ever gone. Mia's voice came through clearly on every screen in the galaxy. He's not trying to eat me. Look at his eyes. Really look. He's curious. He doesn't understand why I'm not running. The Zarathkon's 6 red eyes studied her. Up close, Mia could see they weren't just burning with rage like everyone said. There was something else in them. Something that looked almost like confusion. Like sadness. Like a creature that had forgotten what anything besides fear felt like. Halfway across the galaxy, Ambassador Ryan Cooper watched the broadcast from the council chamber. His hands were shaking as he stood up so fast his chair flew backward. Give me a ship. Right now. Ambassador, protocol forbids interference during the ritual, the VRNN Chancellor said. The barrier cannot be lowered until. I don't care about your protocol. Ryan's voice cracked with emotion. That's a human child down there and something impossible is happening. I'm going to Krothmar and you can either give me a ship or I'll steal one. The council erupted in argument, but Ryan was already running toward the docking bay. On Krothmar, Mia slowly reached into her backpack again. Her hands were still shaking but less now. She pulled out her father's old harmonica, dented and worn from years of use. My dad taught me to play this before he died. It's a song from Earth called Amazing Grace. It's really old. Do you want to hear? The beast didn't move, but its eyes tracked the small metal instrument. Mia brought it to her lips and began to play. The notes were simple, sometimes a bit off-key because her hands were still trembling. But the melody was pure and clear in the silent air of the dead planet. Something incredible happened. The Zarathkon slowly lowered itself down, sitting back on its massive haunches like a dog. Then a sound rumbled from deep in its chest. Not a roar this time. A hum. Low and resonant, it matched the melody Mia was playing, harmonizing with the simple notes of the harmonica. Mia stopped playing, her eyes wide. You're singing with me. The humming stopped when she stopped. The beast tilted its head, waiting. She played again, and again the creature hummed along, its entire body vibrating with the sound. Tears ran down Mia's face, but they weren't tears of fear anymore. They were tears of understanding. You're lonely, she whispered, lowering the harmonica. That's why you kill, isn't it? They keep you here all alone. They've been feeding you terrified children for so long that you forgot anything else existed. You forgot that someone could be kind. That someone could see you as anything except a monster. The Zarathkon made a sound that wasn't quite a whimper, but close. For 10,000 years, it had been the most feared thing in the galaxy. And for 10,000 years, It had been completely, utterly alone. Mia reached back into her backpack and pulled out her mother's old softball, scuffed and worn. My mom used to play catch with me before the accident. She said playing together is how you make friends. Wanna try? She tossed the ball gently toward the creature. It landed in the dust near its massive clawed foot. The Zarathcon looked at the ball, then at Mia, confused. She gestured encouragingly. Pick it up. Throw it back. What happened over the next hour would be analyzed and debated in council chambers for generations. Mia Stevens, 7 years old from Mars Colony, played catch with the most feared creature in galactic history. The beast was clumsy at first. Its enormous claws were designed for destruction, not for gently grasping a small ball. It accidentally crushed the first throw. It's okay, Mia said, pulling out a second ball. Try softer. The creature tried again. And again. And slowly, impossibly, it learned. When it finally managed to toss the ball back without destroying it, that deep humming sound returned, but different now. It sounded like joy. Like a creature remembering what happiness felt like. By the time Ambassador Ryan's ship screamed into Krothmar's atmosphere 6 hours later, he found something that shouldn't have been possible. Mia sat leaning against the Zarathcon's massive side, reading aloud from a children's book about Earth's animals that she'd loaded on her tablet. The beast's 6 eyes were half closed in contentment, its breathing slow and peaceful, as it listened to a little girl's voice describe elephants and dolphins and dogs. The most feared creature in the galaxy looked, for the first time in 10,000 years, at peace. Ambassador Ryan Cooper stumbled out of his ship, his legs barely holding him up. When he'd left the council chamber 6 hours ago, he'd expected to find a dead child and a satisfied beast. Instead, he found Mia Stevens sitting peacefully against the Zarathcon's massive side, reading to it like she was at a library back home. He fell to his knees in the dust and cried. He'd been an ambassador for 15 years and prided himself on staying professional. But seeing this little girl alive, seeing her safe, broke something open inside him. Dr. Helen Carter ran past him, wrapping Mia in a hug so tight the girl squeaked. How? Ryan finally managed to ask. How are you alive? Behind him, Dr. Patricia Wells emerged from the ship. She was Earth's leading xenobiologist, brought along because Ryan had hoped against hope they might learn something useful. Now she stood frozen, staring at the impossible scene before her. The creature that had killed thousands was letting a child lean against it like a pillow. Dr. Wells pulled out her scanner with shaking hands. I need to understand what's happening here. Mia, can you tell me what you did? How did you survive? Mia looked up from where she sat, still nestled comfortably against the beast's warm scales. Her voice was tired but calm. At my old school on Earth before we moved to Mars, we had this dog at the shelter where I volunteered. Everyone said he was mean. He'd bitten 3 kids and 2 adults. The shelter was going to put him to sleep because nobody could handle him. She gently stroked the Zarathcon's hide, and the creature made that soft humming sound again. I asked if I could try working with him first. His name was Brutus. Big German shepherd with scars all over. Everyone was scared of him. What happened? Dr. Wells asked, her scanner recording everything. Turns out Brutus was deaf. He couldn't hear people coming up behind him, so when they'd suddenly appear and touch him, it scared him bad. That's why he bit. Once I learned to always approach from where he could see me, to move slow, to speak gentle even though he couldn't hear the words, he turned into the sweetest dog ever. He just needed someone to understand him instead of being afraid. Mia looked up at the Zarathcon's massive head. He's not that different from Brutus. Everyone's been so scared of him that they never tried to see what he really needed. Dr. Wells ran her scans for the next hour while Ryan contacted the council. What she discovered changed everything humanity thought they knew about the ritual. The Zarathcon wasn't just some mindless beast. Her scanner readings showed brain activity more complex than most species on the council. It was fully sentient, possibly even more intelligent than humans. It's been aware this entire time, Dr. Wells said, her voice shaking as she looked at her data. 10,000 years of imprisonment. 10,000 years of being alone. And every 1,000 years, you sent it terrified children who saw it as a monster. The ritual wasn't appeasing it. The ritual was torturing it. Ryan felt sick. He pulled up the historical records on his tablet and read them with new understanding. The creature had been left here as a guardian by some ancient civilization that died out millennia ago. It had a purpose once. A duty. And when its creators vanished, it was left completely alone with no one to protect and no one to understand it. The council convened an emergency session that same day. Representatives from 100 worlds filled the chamber, all watching the live feed from Krothmar. Ryan stood at Earth's podium, and when he spoke, His voice carried the weight of fury and grief. For 10,000 years, you fed children to a prisoner. You chose fear over curiosity. You chose violence over understanding. And today, a 7-year-old human child did what your entire civilization couldn't manage in 10 millennia. She asked if it was lonely. She offered it kindness instead of terror. She saw a person behind the monster. The chamber was silent. Species that had sent their own children to die stared at their desks, unable to meet anyone's eyes. The ritual ends today, Ryan continued. Not because humanity is refusing to participate, but because it was wrong from the beginning and a child proved it. The vote was unprecedented. 40 species voted to abolish the millennial appeasement. Only 3 abstained. None voted to continue it. The Zarath Khan would be given companionship, proper study, and the chance to communicate. Mia volunteered immediately to visit regularly through the quantum gate system. She'd come every week, she said, to teach it about Earth and friendship and all the things it had missed in its long isolation. Over the following months, Dr. Wells and her team made breakthrough after breakthrough. The creature learned to communicate using musical tones and rhythmic patterns. Through this language, it told them its story. It had been a guardian once, protecting a great civilization. When that civilization fell to plague, it had been left alone with its programming, its duty, and no one to fulfill that duty for. 10,000 years of purposeless existence had driven it nearly mad. The galaxy learned a hard truth about humanity that year. Their strength wasn't in their weapons or their technology or their numbers. Humans were average in almost every measurable way. But they had something unique, something that changed everything. They had an almost stubborn refusal to accept that anything was beyond understanding or compassion. They looked at monsters and asked why, instead of just, how do we kill it? Mia Stevens became the youngest person ever to receive the Galactic Peace Medal. At the ceremony, a reporter asked her how she'd known what to do when species with thousands of years more experience had failed. She smiled, still just a 7-year-old kid in a fancy dress that was too big for her. My mom used to tell me that scared things bite. She said if you want to help something that's scared, you have to stop being scary first. That's all I did. The Zarath Khan was given a new name by Mia. She called it Atlas, after the old Earth myth about someone carrying a heavy burden. And every single week, a little girl came through the quantum gate with honey and a harmonica to visit her friend. They'd play music together, toss a ball around, and talk about Earth's animals and alien stars and what it meant to finally not be alone anymore.